Now at 5, we are tracking strong to possibly severe thunderstorms and a tornado watch across the region. I'm going to have those details.
Plus, why KDOT is shutting down its project to build a US 69 corridor through southeast Kansas, and
a landmark law passed 1 year ago to expand health care for veterans exposed to toxic burn pits. I'm Natalie Brand with details about an important deadline today, plus how the law has made it easier to finally get help.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
We're tracking the threat of severe weather in parts of the area this evening. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Dow Quick. Let's go straight to Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy.
Yeah, it's kind of atypical to get severe weather like this in the month of August, but as we know in the 4-state area, we can get severe weather any month of the year. Tornado watch in effect till 10 p.m., mainly along and south of I-44. And look at these storms exploding over about the past hour and a half. You can see this green box has a flash flood warning. Impressive rain rates, 2, 3, 4 inches per hour. And you can see another cell which is developing just to the east of Neosho. We do have our Skywatch storm tracker out there. This is one of our photogs, Friends Wallace. He is right about the 49 between Neosho and then also just on the south side of Joplin. So he is tracking north, and you can see the clouds behind me, which are really starting to darken. So this is a very intense thunderstorm. Look at the lightning. So this most likely is going to go severe as we go through next 20 to 30 minutes. So that's something we're going to be watching. But let's go ahead and track one of those storms for you. And you can see it from downstream Casino, just north of Quapaw. And this is moving east. So this is going to move on the south side of Joplin. We do have that tornado threat along and south of I-44. As we go through the evening hours, of course, I'm going to have more details on this in just a little bit.
The Department of Transportation says it's stopping work on the US 69 corridor western alignment through Crawford County. The project would expand an 18-mile corridor of US 69 to a 4-lane freeway starting at the Cherokee-Crawford County line and continuing north of the city of Arma. It would have led traffic around many towns in the area, which led to a lot of pushback from residents and some public discussions. KDOT says that pushback is the reason they're stopping the plan. They'll conduct a new survey to figure out the next steps later in the year. It was only a drill, but it was meant to look and feel like the real thing. An active shooter simulation in Neosho, Missouri today was a joint exercise involving first responders from multiple agencies. The idea was to allow responder agencies to evaluate current procedures and make needed improvements for possible real-world events.
Active shooters, basically. We've had some suicidal scenarios, active shooter. Basically, we've had wounded people, actors playing as wounded people, hostage rescue sort of thing. Communications is always a big issue between different agencies, and that's what they're working on to try to perfect, to make sure we can get through this if something ever happens, God forbid.
In fact, the sheriff says today's drill helped to expose some potential communications problems between responders that need to be corrected. In addition to the sheriff's office, participants in this exercise included police, fire, and ambulance workers from various communities in the county, along with the Missouri Highway Patrol. The National Safety Apparel, or NSA plant in Baxter Springs is preparing to button it up for good. The plant that employs about 63 people is closing on September 29th. In the meantime, it's gradually giving away its discounted apparel. Employees get first pick, and what's left goes to the public. Veterans who might have been exposed to toxic burn pits need to file a claim today in order to be eligible for retroactive health benefits dating back to last year. It's part of the Honoring Our Pact Act. Reporter Natalie Brand has more details from Capitol Hill.
Army veteran Dan Nevins returned from Iraq with visible wounds of war, having survived an IED explosion in 2004. What he didn't realize, his health battles would only intensify.
I lost both legs as a result of my service. I lived with a traumatic brain injury. And in those moments, I'm like, I'd never even considered all long-term ramifications from toxic exposure. It wasn't even on my radar.
Toxic exposure from burn pits, commonly used on bases overseas during the War on Terror. A practice now linked to more than 20 illnesses and cancers.
When I got diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, I was completely blindsided.
And Nevin's battle with cancer coincided with the passage 1 year ago of the bipartisan Honoring Our Pact Act, which expanded VA health care and benefits to veterans exposed to burn pits, Agent Orange, and other toxic substances.
The legislation also lifted the burden of proof from veterans, some of whom had previously fought for years to get their claims approved.
People that selflessly fight to take care of other people are my heroes.
The claims process now can take just months or even days, says Mike Stoddard of the Wounded Warrior Project.
And the presumptives in the PACT Act make this really easy for us to do. These aren't hard claims to get done.
The VA now reports a nearly 80% approval rate, up sharply from just a quarter of claims before the PACT Act passed. Survivors like Nevins urge veterans who have been exposed to file and get checked out, even if they feel fine. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Now, even if veterans miss the deadline to get retroactive benefits, they can still file new claims after today's deadline. Still ahead, staying safe in the cafeteria.
Back to school is here, and health experts are warning about the dangers of foodborne illnesses in school lunches. I'm Michael George with food safety tips for parents.
Plus, what a new study shows about the benefits of the weight loss drug Wegovy. Topping today's Health Watch, a new study by the maker of the popular weight loss drug Wegovy finds the medication could lower the risk of serious and even deadly heart problems. The drug maker Novo Nordisk says its trial involved more than 17,000 overweight and obese adults 45 years of age and older with cardiovascular disease and no history of diabetes. Results show that Wegovy can reduce the risk of heart attack, stroke, or heart-related death by 20%. As kids return to school, parents are also returning to packing school lunches. But as Michael George explains, there's a health risk in your child's lunchbox that many parents aren't even aware of.
When Sarah Fisher packs a lunch for her 7-year-old, Harlow, she tries to balance healthy snacks with food she'll actually eat.
She'll ask for her make-her-own style Lunchables, so I'll cut cheese up into squares. Sometimes we do it with a little turkey pepperoni and some crackers.
Healthy food is important, but there's another potential risk parents should consider when making a school lunch: foodborne illnesses.
Young children are a group of the population particularly susceptible to foodborne illness.
Sandra Eskin is part of the USDA's Food Safety Division. She says foodborne illnesses cause 128,000 hospitalizations and 3,000 deaths in the U.S. every year. One mistake parents make when making lunches is not keeping cold food at 40 degrees or lower to prevent bacteria. The old brown paper bag won't cut it.
There are small ice packs, there are small cold packs, and you can also use a juice box or a water bottle that you put in the freezer night before, and then you stick it in the lunchbox.
Eskin says when preparing a lunch, keep kitchen surfaces clean and keep raw meat away from other types of food. Many parents say they're mindful of the risks of letting food get contaminated.
That's always a big concern, making sure things stay fresh throughout the day.
I actually bought one of the little bento boxes that has the freezer part that attaches to it, so it stays in the freezer.
With just a few simple steps, parents and kids can get an A+ in food safety. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Another tip, experts say hot food should be kept above 140 degrees. You can add a bottle of boiling water to a lunchbox to keep the food at just the right temperature all day. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, our pet vet on call.
Hi, I'm Dr. Eva Dudek from Parsons Pet Hospital. Coming up, we're going to talk about whether or not you should give recreational marijuana to your pet.
Plus, we're tracking strong storms out there with a severe threat. I'll have those details coming up. All right, we're tracking strong to severe thunderstorms as we go through the evening hours. Of course, we've had thunderstorms just kind of explode over the past couple hours, and that's what we're going to see for about the next 3 hours. And then our window is done for severe weather across the region. But look at our tornado watch. So this is mainly along and south of Interstate 44. You can see this big green box. We've had extremely heavy rain, especially right through the Joplin Metro. The south side rates have been 2, 3, 4 inches per hour. So we are getting a little bit of flash flooding. But look at these storms just explode over the past hour and a half. Now, if you live north of this, you're not going to get any thunderstorms. But if you live south of that, that's where you got to watch it as we go into the rest of the evening hours. But look at these storms, and you can see these kind of individual supercells. That is one reason we have the tornado watch in effect, because some of these could rotate, especially once they get into extreme southwestern Missouri as we go through the next several hours. Let's go ahead. We're going to zoom in and track this one on the south side of Joplin. And you can see from South Middle School, look at this downstream casino. Look at the lightning, which has been picking up. In fact, we got Friends Wallace, who is in our Skywatch Storm Tracker. He is westbound on I-44, so he's kind of driving right in to that storm near downstream casino. And we're going to have our storm tracker out throughout the evening hours tracking all these storms. And then if we need to, we'll also stream on our KOAM YouTube, and we'll always have this up as we go through the next few hours. But let's go ahead and look at some of these other storms. We can go a little bit farther west. So here's Chautauqua down south, 59 to Welch. This is a very strong cell, and it's also supercellular, meaning they're standalone storms. As we track a little bit farther back toward the east, we got these guys continuing to fire up. So here's Diamond. Let's go a little bit farther. Wentworth all the way down toward Newtonia. And then we can look from Wheaton, Pioneer, Purdy. So working into northern parts of Berry County. Here's Monette over toward Aurora. So all these storms continuing to fire. They're just strong right now. They're right below that severe intensity, but of course any of these could go severe as we go through the rest of the evening. So we're going to be watching this. Thunderstorms slide through by 8 p.m. Most of them are going to be out of here. They're going to be in our far southern counties. And then we look pretty good for the rest of the overnight hours for us tonight. Temperatures, of course, cooling down where we have the clouds, showers, and thunderstorms. Where you don't, you're sitting into the mid-80s. Here's 7th and Rangeline, of course, wet. It's dropped to 78 degrees, northerly winds. Now behind the front at about 5 to 10. So thunderstorms, then partly cloudy by 8, and then clear 10, midnight, as we drop back through the 70s. And you can see this wave rotating through, so kind of atypical to get a big severe weather event, especially in the month of August. But of course, we can see severe weather any time of the year. All right, so these storms roll out of here. By morning, we're sitting into the mid-60s, so a nice start. By the noon hour, we're pushing 80. And as we go into the afternoon, most of us are going to be into the upper 80s for high. So Thursday's looking pretty good. Let's go into Friday. Friday morning, near 70, but we could get a few isolated thunderstorms trying to pop up Friday afternoon, and then also into Friday night. So that's something we'll be watching as we go through the next couple days. 87 tomorrow, 95 on Friday, 94 on Saturday. So it does heat up a little bit as we head into the weekend. We are going to have those pop-up thunderstorms as we go into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But overall, besides the severe threat tonight, later on tonight and tomorrow look really nice.
It's good to know that you and the rest of the weather team are keeping an eye on what we need to know.
Yeah, we're watching it.
Thanks, Doug. Coming up, as American credit card debt tops $1 trillion, we're going to meet a woman who's on a mission for a zero balance. Topping today's Consumer Watch, Americans' credit card balances have tipped the $1 trillion mark for the first time ever. Experts say while all that spending shows consumer confidence, it also reveals pockets of trouble for those in a cycle of debt. Reporter Bradley Blackburn introduces us to a debt holder on a zero balance mission.
This morning I drank the free coffee that they had at my house.
Jamie Feldman is currently traveling Europe on a budget. She's also on a debt journey that she regularly shares with her TikTok followers.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm in $9,400 of credit card debt.
The New York Federal Reserve says for the first time ever, Americans' combined credit card balances topped $1 trillion, rising $45 billion in the second quarter.
It's really a story about high inflation, high interest rates.
Bankrate.com senior industry analyst Ted Rossman says the New York Fed's numbers reflect total balances, including the 53% of cardholders who pay in full every month.
The other 47% carry debt. That 47% with debt is up from 39% 2 years ago. So unfortunately, we're moving in the wrong direction there.
A recent Bankrate report found 54 million Americans have been carrying credit card debt for at least a year, showing it's pretty easy to get in and a lot harder to get out.
I think the best way to lower your rate and shorten the term is to get a 0% balance transfer card.
Debt holders can also look for a reputable nonprofit credit counseling agency or sell items they no longer need. For Jamie Feldman,
I have the automatic payments of $95 a month, and then I try to throw a couple hundred more here and there when I can.
steady progress toward her goal of being debt-free by next summer. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Jamie notes she's not accruing any additional debt. Campbell's Soup is adding the maker of a popular pasta sauce to its line of products. The company announced it's set to buy Salvo's brands for about $2.7 billion. Rayos accounted for about two-thirds of Salvo's more than $800 million in net sales last year. Millions of Americans hoped to become a billionaire off of the Mega Millions, and someone did. Sorry, but it's not you. One winning ticket for last night's jackpot was sold at Publix in Neptune Beach, Florida. Maybe if you were in Florida, it is you. The jackpot was worth an estimated $1.58 billion. That is the largest lottery's jackpot in history. Our Pet Vet on Call is up next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, what a lawsuit filed against the Department of Defense could mean for people who say they were wrongly discharged. Then on KOAM News at 6, a Chautauqua, Kansas resident is arrested during a drug bust. Plus, why a Branson Board of Aldermen has approved restricting drag shows in its downtown district. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. As more people turn to legalized marijuana in Missouri and Oklahoma, they might also have to consider what happens when those edibles end up where they weren't supposed to be. Today's question for our Pet Vet on Call: can recreational marijuana intended for humans harm my dog?
That is a big yes, and I would hope that you would never do that intentionally. But marijuana is toxic to the cat, the dog, and the horse, and it can make them very, very sick. The signs could last anywhere from a couple of hours, depending on the dose, to several days, which that in itself can hurt things tremendously. Dehydration, all sorts of things. So what you want to make sure you do is if you do marijuana recreationally, great, power to you, but make sure that they never ever get to it, because in addition to just the marijuana, it's the medium that it's introduced in. A lot of times chocolate brownies, double whammy, be careful.
We invite questions from anyone. If you have a question, just send it to petvet@koamtv.com. Dr. Eva Dudek from the Parsons Pet Hospital answers a different question or brings us a fun fact every Wednesday here on KOAM News at 5. You can also find answers to previous questions on our website. All right, let's check out our picks of the litter for the week. From the Joplin Humane Society, we have Duke, a male boxer puppy. Look at Duke there. And from the Southeast Kansas Humane Society, Everest. Everest is a 7-month-old shepherd mix. According to the shelter, if you're looking for a pet, why not at least check out your local Humane Society? Once again, we are tracking the possibility of severe weather in parts of the area, Doug.
We are. We have very intense thunderstorms right now. None of these are severe. They are just below severe limits, but the lightning is starting to pick up in the storm just south of Joplin, also the one in northern parts of Ottawa County. So we got to watch those as these will continue to intensify over the next few hours. Of course, we're going to have the latest on KOAM News at 6.
Very good. Thanks for joining us. The CBS Evening News is next. And of course, we'll be right back here for KOAM News at 6. See you then. In the meantime, be careful out there and let's make it a great evening.